Hello and welcome to Flock and Fern. In today's video, I'm going to take you through how to knit these super cute baby booties. They're great for stash busting, but also for the summer weather, and they're really cute. So let's get started. For this video, you're going to need some double knitting weight yarn, 3 1/4 mil knitting needles or 3.25 millimeter knitting needles, scissors, a row counter or a way to keep tally of the rows that you're working on, a stitch holder, some cute little buttons, a yarn needle and a sewing needle. Okay, so let's get started. First things first, we're going to cast on our stitches. So using our 3.25 knitting needle and the double knit yarn, we're going to cast on 31 stitches. So I'm going to start by making a slip knot. If you need any help on casting on, I can take you through doing the slip knot and casting on in really slow motion in the video that's popping up on your screen now. In the channel itself, we actually do lots of tutorials and knitting projects, so please hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon here, you get notified when you get a new video. So 31 stitches to cast on. I'm using the long tail thumb method. And that's 31. So I'm going to take those cast on stitches into my left hand, and that becomes the left needle. And then we're going to get ready to knit our first row. So right the way along, we're just going to knit into every stitch. So going into the bottom, cross the needles, wrap the working yarn round, down and out. And getting to the end of that first row now, where we've knitted across all 31 stitches. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to mark that row on my row counter. I got this Knit Pro row counting ring from my local yarn store and I absolutely love it. This video isn't sponsored or anything, but it's just a shout out that it's like the best thing ever. Now we're going into row 2. We're going to knit into this very first stitch, but we're also going to increase. So we're going to knit one and make one into that first stitch. So we're going to go yarn round, in the middle, through. And then usually we would slide off and that would be our knit stitch. But instead, I'm going to take that right needle and I'm going to go take it round and in the back of that stitch. So it's going in twice into the same stitch, crossing it over there. And then we're going to wrap the yarn round and knit it off. So we've actually made 2 stitches from that first stitch. And that was a knit one front and back, the increase. So then we're going to knit 13 stitches. And 13, I'm just going to double check that. So there's our 2 that we made, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. And then into this next stitch, I'm going to increase again. So knit front and back again. So in between the 2, as if to knit, don't slide it off, take the right needle, go back into the back loop, cross it over, yarn round, knit again, and then slide off. I'm then going to knit 1. And I'm going to increase again with a knit front and back again. So in, yarn round, as if to knit, don't slide off, go back into the back. And slide that off, there we go. Then we're going to knit 13. And then we've got 2 stitches left on the left hand needle. So into this next stitch, I'm going to knit front and back, increase again. And then I'm going to knit the very last stitch. And that's row 2 completed. And I'm going to mark that on my row marker. Switch the needles around. And for row 3, we're just going to knit right the way across all the stitches, including our increases. There we go. So we've now completed the row 3, which was just knit right away across the 35 stitches, which included our new increases. Going to switch our hands now, switch the needles round. And in the next row, we're going to do another set of increases. So we're going to start by knitting the very first stitch. Then in the next stitch, we're going to knit front and back to increase. We'll be getting well practiced in this. It's a little fiddly for me holding it up to the camera, but there we go. We're then going to knit 13. And then we're going to increase again. So knitting into the front and the back. Then we're going to knit 2 stitches. Knit front and back, increase on the next stitch. Knit 13. And then we're going to increase again, knit front and then the back. And then knit the last 2 stitches. So we're gradually increasing, and this will help shape the sole of our bootie. So that was row 4. Then row 5, we're just going to knit right the way across our now 39 stitches on the needle. Okay, that's the end of row 5. Now we're going on to row 6, which is again another increase row. So we are going to knit 2. Then in the next stitch, we're going to knit front and back to increase again. And then knit 13. There we go. Knit front and back to increase again on the next stitch. And we're going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit front and back. Knit 13 again. And then we're going to knit front and back, increase again, and knit the last 3 stitches. So we've now got 43 stitches at the end of row 6. And for row 7, we're going to knit right the way across. There we go. So the end of row 7, we've knitted all the way across, and now we're going to start row 8. And row 8 is our very last increase row. So we're going to start row 8 by knitting the first 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Knit front and back and then into the next stitch, front and then back, and then knit 13. And I'm just going to check that because I lose count all the time. Yep, knit front and back into the next stitch. And then we're going to knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then increase into the next stitch, so knitting front and the back. And then knit 13 again. In the very next stitch, you guessed it, we're going to knit front and back, our very last increase. And then we're going to knit these last 4 stitches. And so we've now got 47 stitches on our needle. And that was the end of row 8. So we are now going to change. So we've done this, what will form the toe and the sole of the baby bootie in garter stitch. That makes kind of a cute little sole at the bottom of the bootie. And then what we're going to do now is continue in stocking stitch to form the side of the booties. So in this next row, we are actually going to purl. So we're going to purl right the way along. and that is row 9. So we're starting to do a purl. So we're going in through the front, yarn forward, it's going round, out and back. And if you're new to the purl stitch, check out the video that's on the link on your screen now, and that'll take you through in really slow motion, step by step, how to do the purl stitch. And that's the end of row 9 where we purled all our stitches. Going to switch hands and we're now going to knit. And by doing this alternative purl and knit rows, we're now into stocking stitch or stockinette stitch. And we're going to continue in stocking stitch until we get to row 16. So row 16 we'll start doing something exciting again. Okay, so I've just finished row 15, which was a purl, and now we've got a few rows of stocking stitch, and we're about to start row 16. As I said, things are going to get exciting on row 16. So we're going to start to shape using a decrease at the front of the foot. I know that this requires a lot of counting, but what it means is that at the end, there's very little sewing up, which if you've watched some of my other project videos, you'll know is my least favourite part. So I do try and keep that to a minimum when designing my patterns. Just a wee reminder, this is all just done in my spare time because I absolutely love knitting. But if you could hit subscribe, and if you're enjoying this video, give us a thumbs up. It really does help. This pattern has taken a long time for me to design with a lot of trial and error, so any support is appreciated. And if there is anything that you'd like to see in a future video, then drop it in a comment. That would be fantastic. So, getting cracking with row 16. What we're going to do, we're going to knit 15 stitches, and then we're going to start to shape, and then knit the rest of the 15. So, let's go. And 15, I'm just going to double check. 15, perfect. So to do our shaping, we're going to do a decrease. The first decrease we're going to use is slip, slip, and then knit. It's also abbreviated in the pattern as SSK. This is a really common decrease in knitting, and it helps to slant the stitches in a direction so that it starts to form a nice shape. It's often used in raglan sleeves and things like that. So to do the slip, slip, knit, we're going to take our right needle. We're going to go into the stitch on the left needle, but into the front as if to purl. But instead of doing a purl, we're just going to slide it straight off and onto the right needle. We're then going to slip the next stitch on the left needle by doing the exact same thing. So taking the right needle into the front loop as if to purl and sliding it off. That's the S and the S. And now for the K, for the slip, slip and knit. To knit these two, we're going to take the left needle and we're going to go into the front two loops of those stitches on the right needle that we just slipped. So the first one and then into the second one. We're going to cross them over, and with our yarn at the back, we're going to wrap that round and knit them together. And slide the left needle out. So that is a slip, slip, knit, decrease. We're going to now repeat that again. So we're going to take the right needle, slide the first stitch off purlwise once and then twice. Left needle, knit them together. So slip, slip, and knit. And we're going to do that again. Slip, slip, left needle into the front, knit the two, and one more time. So that's 4 times in total. 1, slip, slip, into the front, and knit those. So that is our 1, 2, 3, and 4 slip, slip, knit decreases. We're then going to simply knit the next stitch. And now we're going to slant our stitches in a different direction. So we're going to do a different kind of decrease. This is all adding to the shaping of the front of the bootie. This time what we're going to do is a bit of a simpler decrease, which is knit 2 together, also shown in the pattern as K2, the number, T-O-G, tog, and so that is knit 2 together. So we're going to take the right needle and we're going to put it in to both these 2 stitches on the left needle, but from the second stitch in first. So we're going to push it into that second stitch and through to pick up the front stitch, cross them over, and then knit and slide them both off. There we go. So that's our knit 2 together decrease. I'll show you again. So we're going to go into that second stitch on the left needle, pick up the first stitch as well, and knit the 2 together. K2 TOG, tog. And we're going to do that 4 times in total, so another 2 times. So knit into that second stitch, knit 2 together, into that second stitch, and knit 2 together. Okay, so that's got 4 knit 2 together decreases. And then we are just going to knit across the 15 stitches left on the needle. Perfect, so that's taken us down to 39 stitches at the end of row 16. So I'm going to mark that on my row marker. Switch around again. And we are going to purl right across for row 17. Okay, so I've just purled right the way across for row 17, and we're going to start row 18. So we're going to start by knitting the first 9 stitches. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 9 stitches now on my right needle. I'm then going to cast off 21 stitches. So remember that you have to have those 9 on there to start with. So this is the first cast off stitch. So you go to knit like normal. And then I'm going to knit again. And I'm going to pick, we're using my left needle, that second stitch on the right needle, I'm going to pick it up and slide up, over and off. So I've still got those 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And then this is the start of the cast off. So we're going to cast off 21 stitches just by repeating that. So knitting, picking up, passing it over. Knit, pick up that second stitch, pass it over. You'll see there's a gap forming now. And this is for the front of the bootie, above the toe. Okay, so this is the last cast off stitch. And now we'll have 8 left on here, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 1 on here. So we just knit across those, and that'll leave us with another 9 stitches. And that's the end of row 18. Okay, so for row 19, what we're going to do is knit the first 9 stitches on here. So we're going back to garter stitch. And this kind of forms the almost the cuff of the slipper. So I'm going to knit across those 9. And what I'm going to do now is ignore these 9 stitches on here. So when it's this is the right side bootie, and when it's the left bootie, you're going to do something different, which is using the stitch holder to hold those first 9 stitches. And that's all explained within the pattern that's available at the link below. So ignoring these 9, I'm going to continue with the 9 here. So switch it around, and I'm going to continue with garter stitch until row 22. So I'll see you there. Okay, so we just finished row 22. That was our garter stitch, where you can see we've started to make the kind of upper cuff bit of the bootie. And now what we're going to do is cast off those 9 stitches. Again, just knitwise. And now we're on the last stitch. I'm going to cut the yarn, leaving a short tail, maybe 10 centimeters. Get my darning needle and just thread that through that last stitch of the needle, on the needle rather, and pull to secure. There we go. So we've cast off those 9. So now you can see we've got the sole, the side, and the cuff of the bootie taking shape. We can get rid of the darning needle for now. And then we're going to turn our attention back to these 9 stitches that have been kind of hanging about on our needle. So with these 9 stitches, we're going to rejoin the yarn and we're going to cable cast on 12 stitches. So to do that, I'm going to take my right needle and put it in between those first 2 stitches on the left needle. I'm then going to get the yarn, the tail end, just a little tail, and make a bit of a hoop at the top, a loop at the top rather. Hook that onto the right needle and pull it down through those 2 stitches. Pull some slack through the stitches, twist it, you see there, I just pushed it across so it's crossing over, and then taking the tip of the left needle, putting it back through that loop and sliding it off the right needle, and then just tightening the working yarn to secure. So that was a cable cast on that first stitch. So that did 2 jobs. It rejoined the yarn and it helped cable cast on that very first stitch. So we're going to do 11 more cable cast on stitches. So the same approach, we'll go in between those 2, the 2 next uppermost stitches on the left needle with the right needle. Loop the yarn round in between the 2. Pull it to the front with the tip of the right needle. Twist it with your thumb and index finger and hook it back onto the left needle. And so we'll continue till we've got 12 new cast on stitches in addition to the 9 stitches that we had on there already. And 11. And the very last cast on stitch here, number 12. There we go. So if we're looking across now on the left needle, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 of our original stitches. And then we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 new cast on stitches. Okay, so now we're going to start row 23. And to do that, we're going to knit across these 12 new ones and the 9 that were already on there. So basically continue with the left needle being in your left hand, and we're just going to knit into that cast on stitch and knit right the way along there. So we've not moved from casting on the 12 stitches using the cable cast on, we've not switched the needles over or anything like that. We are just straight away knitting across all 21 stitches for row 23. So now on row 24, we're going to knit 18 stitches, and then we're going to create a buttonhole at the end of the row so that we can, well, basically so the button can fit through. So we're going to knit 18. Okay, we've just knitted 18 and we've got 3 stitches left on the left needle. To create our buttonhole, we're going to knit 2 stitches together. We're then going to do a yarn forward and then knit that last stitch. So I'll show you that now. So we've done our knit 2 togethers before when we were doing our shaping. So right needle goes into that second stitch, picks up the first stitch on the left needle, if it decides to play ball, there we go, and knit those 2 together. Now we're going to do our yarn forward to create the space for the button. So the yarn, working yarn goes to the front, but then the right needle still goes in as if to knit the next stitch. Like so. So we've created another stitch from where we've decreased, which creates that little hole for the button. So that's the end of row 24. And my ring spun around, there we go. Now row 25, we are going to knit right the way across those stitches, including into that yarn over there. So we're not decreasing, we've just made a hole. Okay, and that's the end of row 25. Now what we're going to do is cast off all the stitches right the way across knitwise. Cast off the last stitch there. I'm going to take my scissors, cut leaving a short tail, maybe 10 centimeters or so again. I'm going to get the tail end of the yarn, feed it through the darning needle and just secure that final stitch by threading it through. There we go. Okay, so that is actually the end of the knitting element of the bootie, or this side of the bootie anyway. And now is the sewing up. And I promised it was as limited as possible. So we're going to weave in the ends, so this bit, and this bit from our cast on and when we're doing our shaping. And then we're simply going to sew along the bottom of the sole. I just use a simple mattress stitch along there, folded it together, up the heel, and then at the back. And then we're going to attach a button to the cuff so that our buttonhole loops round and joins just like so. Okay, so instead of weaving in the tail from my cast on, which is very short, I'm just going to use it to join the sole and the heel together here. So this is with the shaping of the where they're increased for the heel. So I'm just going to sew those together and do a couple of stitches, which will start to form, start to secure the sole together really. But only a couple because my tail is so short. If you left a longer tail, you could use this to actually sew all the way along. So now just going to take that in and weave it to secure. And I'm going to join a new bit of yarn, the knot on the end, just to finish sewing the sole up there. And just continue sewing that seam all the way along the sole. Okay, so we've done the sole and now we're going to do the heel and then up the back. Sew that seam. Okay, so we've sewed up the back of the slipper now, the bootie, and you can start to see it really taking shape. So the last thing left to do is to simply sew on the little button right here. So just one stitch in from the edge and it'll connect to our buttonhole on the end of the strap. And that'll be the last bit to do. So using your sewing needle for this, button of your choice, and I always just split the yarn that I'm using down to thread it through and sew it on. So I'll leave that to you. And there we have it, our super cute little summer themed baby bootie with our strap. So this is for the right foot, and then in the pattern it'll show you how to do the exact same for the left foot, so that you have a gorgeous matching pair. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said before, it takes a long time to design the patterns and put the video together and edit it and everything, so any support for the channel would be great. So if you could hit subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, that would be awesome. And most importantly, happy knitting!